This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 24th day of June in the year 2020. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here is what we're tracking tonight. While declaring that the current political situation in Guyana is not showcasing the Caribbean region at its finest, Chairman of CARICOM and Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley today questioned the report submitted to the Guyana Elections Commission by the Chief Elections Officer of Guyana, Keith Lowenfield. In a statement, Ms. Mottley said CARICOM has remained consistent that every vote must count and every vote must be made to count in the Guyana elections.
We have seen a level of gamesmanship that has left much to be desired and has definitely not portrayed our Caribbean region in the best light. This is definitely not our finest hour, and we must not shy away from that reality.
In his report to the Elections Commission, the Chief Elections Officer said his report showcases the valid votes that were cast in the elections. He said he was guided by the Court of Appeal ruling on the issue of valid votes. His final numbers put the incumbent APNU AFC ahead of the People's Progressive Party by just over 5,000 votes. The undeclared votes from the recount had the PPP ahead by 15,000. The CARICOM chairman said the report by the CEO is worrying.
The Caribbean community is concerned at reports that the Chief Elections Officer has submitted a report to the Guyana Elections Commission, which is contrary to the directions given by the Commission and which does not reflect the results of the recount process as certified by the very staff of the Guyana Elections Commission and indeed witnessed by representatives of the political parties.
Prime Minister Mottley also referenced the work by the CARICOM high-level team which scrutinized the vote recount for more than 30 days.
The CARICOM Observer team was of the unshakable belief that the people of Guyana expressed their will at the ballot box on March 2nd and that the results of the recount certified as valid by the staff of the Guyana Elections Commission led to an orderly conclusion on which the declaration of the results of the election could and would be made.
And Mottley said she wants to know on what grounds can the Chief Elections Officer of Guyana invalidate one vote.
We must ask, on what grounds and by what form of executive fiat does the Chief Elections Officer determine that he should invalidate one vote, far less over 115,000 votes, when the votes were already certified as valid by the officers of the Guyana Elections Commission in the presence of the said political parties.
The CARICOM chair said there is a clear and acceptable route to deal with allegations of fraud coming out of the elections, and that would be through an election petition. But it was Mottley who led a team of 5 CARICOM prime ministers to Guyana just after the elections, when allegations of fraud were raised about the Region 4 declarations. That visit led to meetings with the political leaders and the eventual decision to have a recount of all of the ballots with the CARICOM team scrutinizing the process. That recount was announced by Mottley. Today, the Barbadian Prime Minister said she's also concerned about Guyanese being frustrated by the events that have been occurring since the 2nd of March elections.
Any attempt to provide numbers different from those certified by the staff of the Guyana Elections Commission has left many in shock and wondering what next will happen to frustrate the will of the Guyanese people. The role and focus of political parties must be useful and not obstructive in embracing and promoting the clear and express will of the people. And when we confuse and frustrate that will is when we begin to sow the very seeds of discord and acrimony that we are sworn to dissuade and discourage.
The CARICOM chairperson said it is the view of the community that no voter should be disenfranchised in determining the credibility of the elections.
The community holds a strong view that no voter must be disenfranchised in determining the credibility of this or any election. It is this commitment to a fair and transparent political process that led CARICOM to send 2 electoral observation missions, one for the elections and one for the recount.
The CARICOM chairman has called once again on Guyanese citizens to be patient and understand that no electoral process could replace any of their lives. More news coming up in just a moment.
Hello, boys and girls. As you prepare to write your exams, there are a few things you will have to do each day so that you and those around you can be safe and healthy. Please remember, on the day of your exam, you must wear a mask correctly, covering your mouth and nose before entering the school compound. Wash your hands with soap and water at the entrance of the school at the sink provided for 20 seconds. Paying attention to the palm and back of your hands, between your fingers and their tips. Dry your hands with a clean tissue and dispose in the closed bin nearby. Boys and girls, your temperature will be tested by an official. Then you will go to the designated waiting area with the floor signs and markings clearly visible, standing or sitting 2 meters or 6 feet apart at all times. It is now time to start your exam. The invigilator will direct you to the examination room. All the best. Boys and girls, playing and gathering are not allowed. Parents, the Ministry of Education thanks you for the support you have given the children during the time at home. However, in the interest of everyone's well-being, you will not be allowed to enter the school compound. Parents and guardians, we are counting on your support in picking up the children promptly after their exam. Remember, the Ministry of Education will provide transport for children who are living far away that require that assistance. Please be reminded that vending outside the school's compound is prohibited. Only authorized canteen vendors with a copy of their food handler certificate and wearing a mask, food gloves, apron, hairnet, and a hat will be allowed. Always remember to wear your mask correctly, wash your hands, and stay safe. And let's win the fight against COVID-19. A message from the Ministry of Education.
We all want to stay in touch, right? Now, even more than ever before. So to keep your connection strong, GTT is going 2 for 2. Combine GTT mobile and home internet services and we'll give you 2 gigs of free mobile data each month. With 2 GTT services, you're fully connected at home and on the go. Visit us online at gtt.co.gy/2for2 to learn more and start doing more with 2 for 2 from GTT. Stay safe, stay strong, Guyana. We're in this together.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes.
Hi Guyana, it's your boy Kimo Paul here. Reminding you to stay at least 1 meter away from persons or 3 feet to avoid contracting the flu or the COVID-19. It is also important that we stay at home and to avoid gatherings of more than 5 persons. We must all play our part, so let's protect ourselves and our families from COVID-19. We must all play our part. The Ministry of Public Health cannot do this alone, so let's all come together and fight this virus.
For further information, check our website www.health.gov.gy or visit the Ministry's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter page.
Welcome back. As the Caribbean Court of Justice prepares to hear the challenge by the PPP to the ruling by the Guyana Court of Appeal that more votes than means more valid votes in the Guyana Constitution, the American, British, Canadian, and EU diplomatic representatives issued a call today for every vote cast by every elector to be reflected in the final declaration of the Elections Commission. In a statement this morning, the 4 heads of mission said they are concerned that 114 days after the elections, the people of Guyana continue continue to await the declaration of an election result. According to the diplomats, it is important that every vote cast by every voter be reflected in the declaration in order to ensure that the will of the people of Guyana is respected. They said that respect includes an election declaration of results that mirrors the order and integrity displayed by the people of Guyana, GCOM and party officials, as witnessed by the observers on Elections Day. The ABCE diplomats also quoted a section of the CARICOM report on the recount, which stated that nothing they witnessed warrants a challenge to the inescapable conclusion that the recount results are acceptable and should constitute the basis of the declaration of the results from the elections. The diplomats said pending the outcome of the appeal to the CCJ, they trust that the Elections Commission will meet its constitutional duty to issue a declaration on the basis of the results of the recount, as confirmed by CARICOM, to ensure the democratic choice of the people is fulfilled. The CCJ has issued orders putting a hold to any declaration by the Elections Commission before the hearing and determination of the matter which has been taken before it. The statement by the ABCE diplomats come one day after the Chief Elections Officer submitted his final report to the chairperson and members of the Elections Commission. That report shows a victory for the APNU-AFC after more than 115,000 votes deemed to be not valid or not credible were discarded. A number of irregularities were uncovered during the vote recount, and the Chief Elections Officer said he was guided by the appeal court's ruling in his compilation of his final report. That ruling spoke of valid votes. The Elections Commission postponed its meeting to deal with the report after the PPP moved to the CCJ. In a late afternoon statement, the Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland joined in expressing her concern over the report submitted by the Chief Elections Officer to the Guyana Elections Commission. The Commonwealth in its statement said the submission of the report by the CEO, which does not reflect the recount figures, would be contrary to the fundamental principles which are treasured by the Commonwealth family and are enshrined in their Commonwealth Charter. The body of 54 countries said it wants responsible parties to consider the consequences to Guyana's reputation as a democratic country if the approach by the CEO was allowed to stand. In submitting his report, the Chief Elections Officer said he was being guided by the Court of Appeal decision on valid votes. His report appears to have only considered what he called the credible and valid votes that were cast at the elections. The Commonwealth said Guyana is a valued member of the Commonwealth family, and all stakeholders in Guyana should honor their constitutional duties by ensuring a fair and transparent political process. The Guyana Elections Commission has not met as yet to discuss the report by the Chief Elections Officer, but the matter is heading to the Caribbean Court of Justice as the PPP seeks a dismissal of the ruling by the local Court of Appeal on its interpretation of the words "more votes than" to mean more valid votes. The Organization of American States wants the Guyana electoral process to come to an end, with the results to be based on the numbers from the national recount. In a statement last evening, the OAS said the electoral process in Guyana has gone on for too long, and it was now time for a just and fair conclusion. The OAS was among the international observer groups that were present in Guyana for the elections and the national vote recount. It said the Elections Commission is already in possession of a result based on the valid votes cast on the 2nd of March elections that it came by through the recount. The OAS position mirrors that of CARICOM. It stated that anyone who wishes to challenge the validity of the elections should do so through an election petition filed in the High Court after GCOM declares the election result based on the recount data. The OAS also noted that Guyana's 2020 elections have been reviewed repeatedly and extensively by both national and regional courts, and while it advocates for the right of all citizens to access electoral justice, there is a fine line between the right to redress and the use of the courts to stall the electoral process. While the Caribbean Court of Justice will tomorrow hold a case management conference for the attorneys set to appear in the case taken before it by the PPP. That case seeks a dismissal of the Guyana Court of Appeal ruling that more votes than means more valid votes in the Guyana Constitution. Although there are questions surrounding whether the CCJ has any jurisdiction to hear the matter, the court is likely to have the attorneys debate that issue before it. The court is expected to hear the case on the 1st of July. Last evening, the CCJ issued an order prohibiting the Guyana Elections Commission from declaring the results of the elections until the hearing and determination of the appeal. The stay order has put a hold on the Elections Commission acting on the final report, which has been submitted by the Chief Election Officer. That report by the CEO was based on the guidance of the Court of Appeal, according to his statement to the Commission. The report, according to the CEO, has put together the valid votes that were cast. That count, based on the CEO's report, would result in a victory for the APNU-AFC. The PPP wants the entire Court of Appeal ruling thrown out, although it had insisted that the ruling did not mean much. The Attorney General for Guyana has been maintaining that the CCJ has no jurisdiction to hear and determine the matter, since the Guyana Court of Appeal is the final court to deal with that specific issue that was taken before it. Health matters to report now. Guyana's Chief Medical Officer Dr. Shamdeo Persad has blasted those Guyanese nationals who were repatriated and have provided false contact information to the authorities. The Public Health Ministry released 3 lists of more than 40 persons who could not be contacted. Some of them provided incorrect contact information, while others never answered the numbers they provided. And at least 10 of them who recently returned from abroad and should have remained home for 7 days were found to have broken the home quarantine. The Chief Medical Officer described their actions as selfish.
This irresponsible and selfish act is putting your life and the lives of our citizens at risk and placing undue pressure on our health workers and health system. I therefore wish to remind you that the stipulated quarantine that you have signed onto in your effort to return home is important and is for your protection. Arriving with a negative PCR test does not prevent you from contracting COVID-19 while traveling or on arrival in Guyana. Remember, you are still at risk, hence the reason we want to check on you to ensure that you are not experiencing any signs or symptoms.
Dr. Persad said those citizens who provided the incorrect information are deliberately defying the terms of their repatriation and making it difficult for those who are still waiting to be repatriated. 2 more repatriation flights are expected early next week from the United States, and more than 150 Guyanese nationals in Canada are still awaiting their turn to be repatriated.
I take this opportunity to remind you that the safety of your fellow Guyanese is dependent on your staying home until your quarantine period is complete, and that you adhere to these guidelines, making the return of your fellow nationals possible.
Meanwhile, a total of 78 tests for the coronavirus were completed over the past 24 hours, and 3 persons have tested positive for the disease, taking the total number of active cases back up to 90. The Chief Medical Officer revealed today that 1 person remains a patient in the COVID-19 intensive care unit, while the total number of recoveries has climbed to 107. The Civil Defense Commission, through the National COVID-19 Task Force, has dispatched a team to the Region 1 community of Maruca as part of the efforts to tackle the coronavirus outbreak in that community. Special sanitization tunnels and COVID-19 tents are being set up in the community. The tents will be used to isolate persons who are tested positive for the coronavirus, as the health facilities in the region run thin. There are 41 current cases of the coronavirus in the Region 1 community, and there have been calls by regional officials for more help. Over the past few weeks, regional officials have been forced to set up additional facilities for persons affected by the virus, as the numbers in the community continue to rise. Public health officials are worried about the rising numbers and have been continuously calling on the Region 1 residents to follow the health and safety guidelines. Well, the Ethnic Relations Commission this afternoon announced a search for a number of persons it described as persons of interest in its efforts to crack down on racial incitement and racially insensitive statements on social media. In a post on its Facebook page, the Ethnic Relations Commission highlighted screenshots of some of the concerning statements and social media posts, asking for anyone with information about the persons highlighted to contact the ERC. Some of the statements were submitted to the ERC by concerned citizens, while others were reportedly observed by officials of the Commission. Over the past few months, there has been a noticeable increase in racially insensitive comments being made by a number of persons on social media, especially in relation to the elections. Just recently, the ERC forced social media commentator Mikhail Rodriguez, also known as the Guyanese critic, to issue an apology after he made a number of racist statements against Afro-Guyanese and also attacked the Christian community. In many of the cases taken before the ERC, it would conduct an investigation, meet with the offending parties, and request that they offer a public apology. There have been calls by citizens for the ERC to become tougher on how it addresses the issues of race hate and racially insensitive and racist comments. Under the laws of Guyana, it is a criminal offense under the Representation of the People Act Chapter 103 and the Racial Hostility Act Chapter 2301 for anyone to incite racial hatred or violence against any person or against any segment of the society. Across the Region is coming up next.
They've made a positive impact on the heavy-duty transportation industry in Guyana since they've arrived. Guyanese are amazed at their power, durability, efficiency, and superior handling capabilities. These are brand new trucks, manufactured in partnership with German, Italian, and French companies. They have a powerful reputation for operating under very adverse Guyanese conditions and come with full after-sales service and spare parts. They're the most sought-after trucks today, with over 500 units in Guyana, and they're available in over 100 countries, including South America and the Caribbean. Be smart. Buy brand new ST Homo Trucks today. Call 608-4998 and arrange for an inspection at ST Truck Guyana Incorporated, Block B, Public Road, Covenant, East Bank, Demerara.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
The following is an important message from the Ministry of Public Health. Getting your workplace ready for COVID-19. Surfaces such as desks, tables, and telephones with keyboards must be wiped with disinfectant regularly, or at least every few hours. Use containers of hand sanitizers and place them in prominent places around the workplace. Provide access to places where staff can wash their hands with soap and water, and promote regular hand washing at the workplace. The Ministry of Public Health has a hotline to provide information on the coronavirus. Members of the public can call 227-4986 or 624-3067.
Across the region right now, the state-owned carrier Caribbean Airlines has recorded a loss of more than $14 million in just over a 1-month period as a result of the impact of the coronavirus disease. That's according to the minister in the Ministry of Finance in Trinidad, Alison West. She told the Senate that the airline during the period March 23 to April 30 had estimated losses at $14.2 million. She said the financial impact to Caribbean Airlines Limited from losses arising from COVID-19 took effect from the beginning of March, prior to the closure of the national borders. The Trinidadian government official said the impact was further exacerbated following the closure of the borders at midnight on the 22nd of March, noting that as a wholly owned state enterprise, Caribbean Airlines has complied with the government policy during the COVID-19 pandemic. In Latin America, more than 1.6 million cases of dengue have been reported in the Americas in the first 5 months of 2020, drawing attention to the need to continue eliminating mosquito vectors of disease even in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to the 1.6 million dengue cases, there were also 37,279 chikungunya cases and 7,452 Zika cases reported to PAHO. The numbers so far in 2020 show a 10% relative decrease compared to the same period in 2019, which was an epidemic year. The figures from PAHO show that 580 people have died so far from dengue this year. Most cases of dengue in the Americas were from Brazil. And finally tonight, international news. New COVID-19 cases in the US have risen to their highest level in 2 months, according to Johns Hopkins University, which is tracking the outbreak. On Tuesday, the US reported 34,700 new cases, the third highest daily tally since the US outbreak began. States including Arizona, California, Mississippi, Nevada, and Texas had record numbers of new cases. Health officials say the coming weeks will be crucial to stem the outbreaks. On Tuesday, America's top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci told lawmakers that there was a disturbing surge of infection and increased community spread in many southern and western states. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.